For decades, globalization was the backbone of modern business. Companies built vast international supply chains designed to minimize costs. Products were designed in one country, manufactured in another, assembled somewhere else, and shipped across continents to reach customers. Efficiency was the goal, and global scale made it possible. But today, that model is being quietly reworked. Across industries, companies are shifting away from fully global supply chains and moving toward more localized regional systems. This doesn't mean globalization is disappearing, but it does mean that the way companies think about it is fundamentally changing. This is the strategic shift from globalization to local supply chains, and it's being driven by a simple realization: the lowest cost system is not always the most reliable one. For years, businesses optimized for cost above all else. Manufacturing was outsourced to the lowest cost regions, suppliers were selected based on price, and logistics networks were designed to maximize efficiency. But this created a hidden trade-off. The more global a supply chain became, the more complex and fragile it also became. A disruption in one part of the world could ripple across the entire system. A factory shutdown, a port delay, or a geopolitical conflict could delay production thousands of miles away. And over the past few years, companies have experienced this firsthand. Supply chain disruptions expose just how vulnerable global systems can be. Delays, shortages, and unpredictable costs forced businesses to rethink their strategies. Instead of asking, "Where is the cheapest place to produce this?" companies are now asking, "Where is the most reliable place to produce this?" That shift in thinking is changing everything. One of the biggest changes is the rise of regional manufacturing. Companies are increasingly moving production closer to their end markets. This could mean bringing manufacturing back domestically or relocating it to nearby countries. The goal is not necessarily to eliminate global production, but to reduce dependence on distant suppliers. By shortening supply chains, companies can respond faster to changes in demand. They can reduce shipping times, lower transportation risks, and maintain better visibility over their operations. Speed and control are becoming more valuable than pure cost savings. Another major factor behind this shift is geopolitical uncertainty. Global supply chains rely on stable relationships between countries. But as trade tensions, regulatory changes, and political risks increase, companies are becoming more cautious. Relying heavily on a single region or country for critical components is now seen as a strategic risk. As a result, businesses are diversifying their supply chains. They are sourcing from multiple regions, building redundancy into their systems, and avoiding overdependence on any one location. This creates a more balanced and resilient structure. Even if one part of the supply chain is disrupted, the entire system doesn't collapse. Technology is also playing a key role in enabling this shift. Automation, robotics, and advanced manufacturing techniques are reducing the cost advantage of low-wage regions. In the past, companies moved production overseas primarily to take advantage of cheaper labor. But as automation becomes more advanced, labor costs become less significant. This makes it more feasible to produce goods closer to home. At the same time, digital supply chain systems are improving visibility. Companies can now track inventory, monitor production, and respond to disruptions in real time. This allows for more flexible and localized operations. Instead of managing one massive global network, businesses can operate multiple smaller regional systems that are easier to control. There's also a growing focus on inventory strategy. For years, companies followed a just-in-time model, where inventory levels were kept as low as possible to reduce costs. But this approach leaves little room for error. When supply chains are disrupted, there's no buffer. Now, many companies are shifting toward a just-in-case model. They are holding more inventory, building safety stock, and prioritizing availability over maximum efficiency. This works better with localized supply chains, where replenishment can happen more quickly and predictably. Another important factor is customer expectations. In today's market, speed matters more than ever. Customers expect faster delivery, consistent availability, and reliable service. Long global supply chains make this harder to achieve. Localized systems allow companies to get products to customers faster and more efficiently. This is especially important in industries like e-commerce, retail, and consumer goods, where delivery speed can be a major competitive advantage. There's also an environmental dimension to this shift. Global supply chains often involve long-distance transportation, which increases carbon emissions. By localizing production and reducing shipping distances, companies can lower their environmental impact. This aligns with broader sustainability goals and increasing pressure from regulators, investors, and consumers. But this shift is not about completely abandoning globalization. Global trade is still essential. Many products require components from different parts of the world, and certain regions still offer unique advantages. Instead, companies are moving toward a hybrid model. They are keeping global networks where necessary, but reinforcing them with regional systems that provide stability and flexibility. This creates a more resilient structure, one that can adapt to disruptions while still benefiting from global scale. However, this transition comes with challenges. Building local supply chains often requires higher upfront costs. Labor may be more expensive, infrastructure may need to be developed, and new supplier relationships must be established. Companies also need to invest in technology, logistics, and workforce development to support these changes. But for many businesses, these costs are justified. Because the cost of disruption, lost revenue, delayed production, and damaged customer trust can be far greater. This is why resilience is becoming a key metric in business strategy. It's no longer just about how efficiently a company operates in perfect conditions. It's about how well it performs when conditions are not perfect. And localized supply chains perform better under pressure. What's interesting is that this shift is happening gradually, not all at once. Companies are not completely redesigning their supply chains overnight. Instead, they are making incremental changes, adding regional suppliers, building local facilities, and rebalancing their networks over time. But the direction is clear. The era of purely global, cost-optimized supply chains is giving way to a more balanced approach, one that values resilience, flexibility, and control. And this has broader implications for the global economy. We may see increased investment in regional manufacturing, shifts in trade patterns, and new economic opportunities in areas that were previously overlooked. At the same time, competition between regions for investment and production will likely intensify. In the end, this strategic shift reflects a deeper change in how companies think about risk. Globalization made businesses more efficient, but localization is making them more resilient. And in today's uncertain world, resilience is becoming just as important as efficiency. Because the companies that succeed are not just the ones that can operate at the lowest cost, they are the ones that can keep operating, no matter what happens.